Hey, what's up, nerdies? English Dave here. It's the beginning of another week, which means it's time for the Nerdie Report. As usual, we start off with the weekend movie box office. Here are the top movies for December 14th to the 16th. We have a few new movies in the top 10 this week. Hopefully you saw some of them. Heading in at number 1, Sony's animated movie Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, the one that focuses primarily on Afro-Latino Miles Morales, but also features other Spider-Verse characters such as Gwen Stacy and the lovable Spider-Ham. This movie opened up with $35.4 million, officially making it the number 1 animated movie for the month of December ever. Well done, congratulations Sony. Something I didn't think I'd be saying, but you know what, Sony, you did a good job with this. I got a chance to see the movie. Myself and the Otaku guys did a spoiler-free review that should be up today as you're listening to this. So if you're wondering whether you should see that movie or not, I would say yes, you should see that movie. But yes, you should also listen to our spoiler-free review, so don't worry, there are no spoilers. We'll be doing a spoiler review probably sometime in the next week or so. At number 2, Clint Eastwood's new movie, another newcomer this week, The Mule. This made $17.2 million. I'm sure this is going to get a lot of attention. At number 3, Dr. Seuss's The Grinch drops from number 2 last week to number 3 this week, making $11.5 million. Last week's number 1, Ralph Breaks the Internet, comes in at number 4 this week with $9 million. Another newcomer this weekend, Mortal Engines. You know that new movie that the commercials keep saying, from the makers of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, trying to trick you that Peter Jackson made this movie. Peter Jackson, the director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, did not make this movie. I think he was a producer in some level, and some of the team that worked with him directed and worked on this movie themselves. So if you're going in thinking this is Peter Jackson's new movie, no, it is not. I haven't heard much about this movie at all in terms of how well it is. I didn't think it looks very good. I heard this movie is going to make a huge loss. It made $7.5 million this weekend with a $100 million budget. At number 5, I don't think it's going to get any better than that. Sorry, Universal. I think you have a dud in your hands with this one. And rounding in the top 10, Creed 2 at number 6, Bohemian Rhapsody at number 7, Instant Family at number 8, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald at number 9, and Green Book at number 10. And just throw this in there, this past week was also the re-release of Deadpool 2, retitled Once Upon a Deadpool. You know, the PG-13 version with the framing device of The Princess Bride. That was released this past weekend. Not many people saw it. It made $2.6 million, came in at number 11. I still don't know why this was made. I'm sure that's what a lot of people thought. Anyway, whatever, I don't care. Let's go into the weekly news. This past week, not many news items, but a couple of interesting tidbits. First piece of news, according to Variety, we all heard recently, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, the fact that Netflix have cancelled the majority of their Marvel produced shows. I think we only have Jessica Jones and Punisher left, but we're pretty sure that after their current seasons are done, or their upcoming seasons are done, that will be it. Well, we're hearing from Variety that according to the original deal that was made, Marvel cannot actually bring these characters or use these characters for 2 years after they are cancelled. So even if Marvel Disney wants to work with these characters, we're gonna have to wait a while, guys. So unfortunately, if you're hoping that Disney will revive these characters, and they still could, and I think on some level they should, unfortunately, according to legal binding contracts, they cannot do anything with these characters for 2 years after they've been cancelled. So maybe it's a good thing that some of these shows have been cancelled earlier than others, because that 2 years will happen quicker, or a lot sooner. We'll see. Again, I've said this before in past podcasts. As upset as I am that these shows have been cancelled, on the flip side, I don't want to have 12 seasons or whatever of the same characters. One of my favorite things about Marvel is that they're not afraid to try out new characters, or try something different that we haven't seen before. That's what led us to have what we have today. But I don't want them to do the same thing that DC usually do, where we keep repeating the same characters, the same heroes, and the same villains. I don't want that. So you know what? Maybe this is something that's better for us in the long run. We shall see. What other characters would you like to see Marvel bring to the forefront? Do you think Marvel Disney should still work on R-rated content as well, because we don't know where the future stands with that. I'd like to see them bring a character like Moon Knight to shine. I think that'd be pretty cool. Next piece of news, what do I have here? Scott Derrickson, the director of Doctor Strange. I really like Doctor Strange. Raven and I we say that Doctor Strange is one of our favorite underrated Marvel movies. Benedict Cumberbatch does a very good job really nailing that character and really making us believe in his pain. Anyway, Scott Derrickson, he comes from a horror background, and I think he did a good job with the first Doctor Strange movie. He made it strange, so to speak. He's officially returning for the sequel, which I think is a very good thing. I didn't realize that he hadn't officially come back, so I guess that's a good thing. They haven't found a writer just yet. He co-wrote the original movie, and they're looking for a new writer for this one. I hope they find someone who can really just go in full Strange. I think we're at a point where, when the original Doctor Strange was coming out, one, we don't know the character. Two, we're still trying to get into the kind of crazy, to keep using the term strange, surreal elements of the Marvel universe. Guardians started kind of helping us get to that point, and then Doctor Strange is really pushing us. And I think, we're trained, audiences are now trained, not just the super nerds like myself, but I think general audiences are starting to understand and accept the rules of the Marvel universe and can accept new things and crazier things. So I hope the writer that they find for this sequel is brave enough to really push the boundaries. I think we need to push it more. As much as I love the first one, it was still tiptoeing. It teased us. I want to go full. Just throw us in there. Just go psychedelic full on. I'd love that. And I think Marvel has earned that clout right now, and I think people would accept it. So what do you guys think? Do you want to see more Doctor Strange? We don't know exactly the plot of the sequel, of course, because as far as we're concerned, Doctor Strange has been decimated, which is the official term for what Thanos did. It was known as the decimation. Doctor Strange has been decimated, though I prefer the snapping. I've said it before. I like the snapping, so I'll call it the snapping. So, Phase 4, Marvel, Doctor Strange is happening. How will he return? We don't know. We shall find out after Avengers Endgame. Next piece of news. Pixar have announced a new movie via Tom Holland, who's usually Disney and Marvel's go-to person for releasing info and news. So I guess at this point, people realize if I'm working with Tom Holland, before he accidentally leaks the news, let's just have him announce the news. So Tom Holland took to Instagram and announced that yes, he is doing voice work alongside Chris Pratt, his Avengers co-star, on Disney Pixar's new movie titled Onward. We don't know too much about it. All we know is that it's set in a suburban fantasy world, and the story centers on two teenage elf brothers who embark on an extraordinary quest to discover if there's still a little magic out in the world. And this is currently set for theaters March 6, 2020. I like this. Tom Holland. I like Tom Holland. Chris Pratt is in there. I'm guessing they are the brothers. This is Pixar. This is going to be directed by Monsters University's Dan Scanlon. I really like Monsters University. I think not many people talk about that movie. I think that was a very good follow-up to the first Monsters Inc., even though it's a prequel technically. I thought it was very well done. It was hilarious. I'm actually excited for this. I like the title Onward. It seems very Pixar. And I'm excited for this one. Pixar very rarely do me wrong, though. Pixar will say Toy Story 2. What's up with that? Huh? What's up with that? Come on, son. But I'm glad that we're having something that's fresh. It's not a sequel. I wonder, it's been a while since Pixar haven't given us an original movie in a while. I think the last original movie was Inside Out, probably. Yeah, we've had a lot of sequels. I mean, Inside Out wasn't that long ago either, though, to be fair. But I always like when Pixar give us a new IP. So I'm excited for this one. Are you guys excited for Pixar's new movie, Onward? Let us know. info@thenerdybunch.com. What else do I have here? Spider-Man and ex-Sony producer Amy Pascal, she's current Spider-Man producer, in an interview, she said that, because originally there was a plan, this is when Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was still happening. Drew Goddard, who gave us recently, what's it called? He wrote The Cabin in the Woods. He directed Cabin in the Woods, and he also gave us Fast Times of the El Royale, which, if you haven't seen that movie, came out this year. Definitely check it out. Carlos and I did a spoiler-free review of that movie. It's really, really good. He at one point wanted to do a movie based on the Sinister Six. The Sinister Six comprises of 6 Spider-Man-centric villains who team up together to take on Spider-Man. And it usually consists of characters like Dr. Octopus, the Vulture, sometimes they'll throw in Mysterio. It's interchangeable, but there's specific characters that are usually in there. The movie obviously got scrapped when the plans for Spider-Man changed. Because if you remember the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, we get an Easter egg or end credit sequence that hints about more to come with all these villains. And that was the idea at the time. Obviously that fell through. And but in a recent interview for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Amy Pascal mentioned that she's still very interested in working with Drew Goddard and making that movie happen. I think that's very interesting. I like the idea, and she said that whenever he's ready, she's ready to make this film with him. I would love to see a Drew Goddard directed Sinister Six, but here's my issue: the Sinister Six. The whole point is that they come together to take out Spider-Man. So I'm curious, are they going to do this with Marvel or Sony straight up? Because I don't know the intricacies of the deal that Marvel and Sony have for the Spider-Man character. I know that there was a specific amount of films that were being made for the MCU. I also know that for the most part, Marvel takes charge of the production, but Sony makes the money off of it. But Sony has some power, but they kind of relinquish some certain power to Marvel. After the deal is done, I think Tom Holland can still be in other movies that Marvel don't necessarily have input in. But that being said, I think bringing in talent like Drew Goddard to direct a Sinister Six movie without Marvel, a standalone movie that isn't really MCU centric but more Sony, I think it could work. That depends on if he gets kind of control and Sony doesn't get in their way, because Sony. I know you did good with Into the Spider-Verse, so I'm going to give you a little bit of benefit of the doubt there, because you really impressed me. Seriously, guys, Into the Spider-Verse is absolutely fantastic. I have to see that movie so many times. It is one of the best movies. I would definitely say definitely one of the best comic book movies of the year. In a year that gave us Infinity War. I think this movie is up there with, at the very least, in the argument for one of the best comic book movies this year. Highly, highly recommended. So I want to see more Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. He's my favorite character. So more Spider-Man is even better for me. Next piece of news. This is something small. Dora the Explorer. I never watched Dora Explorer. I think it came I was a bit too old for that. Anyway, they're making a movie. Benicio del Toro is going to play the villain. Yes. I think he wants to do kid stuff, I guess. I don't fault him for that one. Oh, here's another quick piece of news. I won't go into the details because it's actually a spoiler for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's been recently announced by Amy Pascal in the same interview I spoke about that they are doing more movies, or they plan on doing more movies in the Spider-Verse. And first one off the bat after this one will be one focused on Gwen Stacy. We had a little bit of story details on that, but I think they're a bit spoilery for what happens in Miles Morales' story, so I won't go into that detail. But the idea that Gwen Stacy, I will say that one, because I believe that every character in Spider-Verse, in terms of all the Spider characters, they all deserve their own movie. I think they did such a great job of all these characters that I could see each and every one of them being in their own movie, and I think Gwen Stacy is the obvious contender to have a first follow-up film, and I'm excited for that. I think she did a very great job, or they did a very great job with the character in this new movie, and I like what the focus is going to be. It makes sense after seeing what happened in the first Into the Spider-Verse film. I can see where this new plot point is going. So once you've seen Into the Spider-Verse, then you can look into what the plot will kind of focus on in this new one, or will be a focus, not the main focus. I think that's really good. I like that. Definitely. I can't say this more. I mean, clearly all of you guys loved Into the Spider-Verse because, again, you guys all helped it become you helped it become the most successful animated movie in December, which is saying a lot because, animated movies in December is a norm because Christmas time. A lot of kids watch movies. So the fact that Spider-Verse, I was concerned. I was worried that that movie wouldn't be a hit with audiences or it wouldn't get the attention it deserves. But I'm glad it is. Thank you, guys. There's still faith. There is still faith. What else do I have here? We're going to go straight into what to expect from the Nerdie Bunch this week. This week we're going to have, actually I think today, Shane should be posting up a couple of reviews. Like I mentioned, myself and the Otaku guys, I call them the Otaku guys. They do the Otaku's Lounge, is Herb and Lens, but I call them the Otaku guys. We did a spoiler-free review. We did two reviews this past week, which will be released today as you're listening to this. We did a spoiler-free review for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for those few people who have not watched the movie. And those of you who have watched the movie, I think it's a very good review. We give some good insights, even without spoiling anything, but I think it's a good listen. And we also did a spoiler-filled review, because we're hoping that you would have seen this by now, on the CW crossover, the Elseworlds crossover with Supergirl, Arrow, and The Flash. We spoke in depth about that not too long, but we went into in depth of what we liked, what we didn't like, what worked and what didn't work, and what we think or what's in store for the future of the franchises. So if you watch the Elseworlds crossover, check out that podcast. It should be up today as you're listening to this. Tomorrow, what have we got tomorrow? On Tuesday, we'll be dropping another episode of the Rooftop Talk. Carlos and I got together to talk about Disney's extensive and awesome looking 2019 lineup of films. It's ridiculous how many awesome movies they have coming out. We go through month to month on the months that they actually are releasing stuff out there. I think it's one of 2 months they don't have anything because they have something massive coming out the month before or upcoming. So listen to that. There's a lot of good movies coming out. I think it's 1 or 2 that I'm not sure about, but most of them I'm very excited about. So listen in on that and let us know which of those films you are excited for and which of those films you think will be On Wednesday, the Otaku guys will be hitting you with another episode of the Otaku's Lounge. This week they'll be doing a review of Bungo Stray Dogs. I have no idea what that is. As always, I tell them I have no idea what they're talking about, but I'm highly entertained. I love listening to those guys. So if you just like to listen to stuff that seems random to you, check those out. But for those of you who know exactly what they're talking about, check those out as well. I think anime fans, you'll be really into this. Bungo Stray Dogs, check out their review coming up on Wednesday. And on Thursday, I will be joining the American Yank himself, Travis, to talk a bunch of trailers. Whatever trailers have been coming out recently, we will be discussing them, so look out for that. And on Friday, Raven will be joining me for Back to the Future, where we talk about movies from the past in the present, as long as they're over 20 years old. And this week we'll be talking one of our favorite Christmas movies, The Long Kiss Goodnight, written by Shane Black. If you haven't seen that movie in a while, you have time to watch it again, or if you haven't seen it, you have the time to watch it. And then on Friday, tune in. We'll be talking full spoilers, going in depth of our thoughts on that movie, the first time we were introduced to it, the legacy that the film has left afterwards, and the influences and all that kind of stuff. So check that out, Back to the Future. And also sprinkled throughout, we'll have a couple of reviews for Netflix shows. We're trying to figure out when we want to release it because Christmas and New Year is coming up. We might be taking a bit of a break, so we want to kind of spread out when we release reviews, because even though we're taking a break, we want to make sure there's enough content for you listeners to enjoy. So there's a couple of Netflix stuff we want to review. Travis and I should be recording a review for Andy Serkis's take on the Mowgli story. Raven and I will be doing a review for Sandra Bullock's new sci-fi Netflix movie called Bird Box. And I'm sure there's other stuff we'll be reviewing. Oh, by the time you listen to this, we might be watching it. We'll be watching Bumblebee. A few lucky winners have been notified by email that they won competition tickets to Bumblebee screening tonight in New York. And some of you guys who go on our website, you can probably get some screening passes as well. Also, it's not too late to get screening passes for Aquaman screening tomorrow in New York on Tuesday. Again, we have a couple of lucky winners who are going to get free VIP seats, and the rest of you can get screening passes for first come, first serve. So go on our website, thenerdybunch.com, for all that information. Also, check out our social media. That's where we put up our competitions first. If you want to see screenings early, if you want to enter competitions before anyone knows about them, check our social media sites at The Nerdy Bunch. Follow us, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Get in touch with us. We like to talk to you guys. We like to communicate. We want to do more communication with you guys and get in touch. We have Mary Poppins Returns. We have Aquaman and Bumblebee. We also have Jennifer Lopez's new film, Second Act. And we also have Steve Carell's new movie, Welcome to Marwen, which looks interesting. I actually wanted to see that movie. Hopefully it's as good as I want it to be. Thank you guys for listening. Check out all our podcasts like I mentioned earlier. My name is English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Report. And as always, guys, keep it nerdy.